The next 2 days, I literally am thinking in my head, thank God. Thank God that we had people, men and women, who served in the military, who did not come home, did it honorably, and did it in such a way that you and I can worship on this Sunday morning and not worry about military, not worrying about cops or anybody breaking through the doors and arresting us. There is another verse that I would like to add on to John 15:13, and that's 14, which even makes it more profound in why Jesus said it. It reads, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. You are my friends if you do what I command." So essentially, when Jesus hung on the cross, he was trying to say that anytime you give your life up for a friend, you're being just like me. And we need to remember that. Otherwise, we will struggle with what this whole time period is about. Psalm 116, verse 15, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his godly ones." And Psalm 27, 3, 4, "Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in the temple." I know that most of the time when we think of Memorial Day, specifically, we put flowers on the grave of loved ones, and rightly so. But we don't want to forget, especially today, what some men and women did in all the wars we have. And currently, there are those who are not coming back. And that's to protect us. That's to give us the most important thing we have in this country, and that's the freedom of religion, no matter what that religion happens to be. I think that the more we forget what we have and the more we take for granted, the more we're missing out on what's been done for us already. Yes, it would be wonderful if we didn't have to go to war. It'd be wonderful if we didn't have to have the military. But that's not the way, and that's not the reality of this world we live in. We read from the Beatitudes, and I did that on purpose. One of the Beatitudes is, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons and daughters of God." What do we normally call our military? Peacekeepers. So as far as I'm concerned, those who served in the military, those who are veterans today, you fall in that category. And that's Beatitude number 9. "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall become sons and daughters of God." Basically, what that means is you are blessed because of what you are doing. You are blessed for the fact that you gave either the ultimate sacrifice or you served. Now, some of us didn't. I happen to be one of it. Vietnam would have been my war. Very close to being drafted. I still can vividly sing the year that I was born in 1 through 365, and they pull that out of that fishbowl, and that'd be 1 through, and then the next couple days you'd hear, well, we're drafting 1 through whatever report to such and such. And of course you would get, if you were drafted, you would get it in the mail. I'm also aware, and I think Memorial Day, we should think about it, even though we have veterans and that kind of day coming down the pike. There are some who came home are not the same person as when they left. We as Christians need to know that PTSD exists, post-traumatic stress disorder. It exists. I know there's some that think psychology is kind of mumbo-jumbo and all this. I'm telling you it exists. It could be a sound. It could be a smell. And all of a sudden they're transported to wherever they fought. And that's why we have cases today where people will absolutely lose it. You've got to talk them, in psych we say we talk them off the ledge. And you have to do that. It's not easy, by the way. It's not easy. So what happens is people go, they serve, they come home, and we don't embrace them. We need to show them the love of God that we have and that they're still loved. Because most people that suffer from PTSD believe that God does not love them. That's why they think they suffer from it. Not understanding any of us who would go into these horrific situations would feel the same thing. It's just part of what happens to us. Some handle it well, some do not. What do you think about on Memorial Day? Or thinking of barbecue, going down on the Ohio River or some lake or whatever. That's okay. That's wonderful, in fact. But what I don't want you to forget is the reason you can have the barbecue. You can go on the Ohio River. You can go to a lake or camp. It's because of what has been done for us by others who, some of them, we don't even know their name. But they did it also. 2 Timothy 2:3. Join with me in suffering like a good soldier of Christ Jesus. This is written by Paul. Remember, when he says Jesus Christ, he means the man. When he says Christ Jesus, he means the divine Son of God, is what that means. Psalm 82:3-4. Defend the defenseless, the fatherless, the forgotten, the disenfranchised, and the destitute. Your duty is to deliver the poor and the powerless, liberate them from the grasp of the wicked. It is hard for us to understand our world today, and I get that. It's difficult for me sometimes. I don't know how you can strap explosives on yourself and blow yourself up and you think you're going to be embraced in heaven. By the way, if you've never read the Quran, which I have, what you hear from these extreme groups does not exist in it, by the way. It doesn't. But that's like extreme anything. You know, we have extreme Christians that do some really strange stuff. Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to all whose hearts are crushed by pain, and he's also ready to restore the repentant one. I know people who have lost loved ones in Korea or Vietnam, and this day brings back pain. And unfortunately, we know this. It is young people we lose. Not anybody my age. It's the 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20, and go up into your mid-30s. I think it still holds that you can't enlist under if you're 36 and above. So where is the Christness for us? What is it that you and I need to do? What is it that we need to do on this weekend? So if you're barbecuing and you're out on the lake or you're out on the river, and I told you before, water has a really special meaning for me. That's where my calling came, was by a lake. Just say a prayer in your head. Thank you for those who didn't come back. Thank God for those who did not come back. Who allows me today to barbecue, that allows me to fish, whatever that may be, that whatever you're going to do. I'm not saying do this and feel guilty. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying feel thankful that there are those who did this so we can be what we are today. I find it interesting that if you, people who do a lot of research, if you input into a computer that has a war program, World War II, we should have lost. It does it every single time. they input in the United States, Great Britain, against Nazi Germany and the fascists, we should have lost. There is no way it comes out we're a winner. And the reason for that is if you do it from the standpoint how many troops there were, what they came up with, what happened. But you know what I think Hitler and Mussolini were not ready for? And this is probably one of the few times you could say this, God was definitely not on their side. He was on our side because of Auschwitz and all the rest of them. That's how we were able to do what we do. And no matter how many times we look at the wall that's made with the names on it, I don't think it really impacts us the way it should. That we are thankful again to God. That we need to take those people who have suffered, who are left behind, and loved ones who are left behind, that somehow, some way, we also thank them. Psalm 147:3, He heals the wounds of every shattered heart. Isn't that what the people feel who lose a loved one in military war? Shattered hearts. 1 Thessalonians 4:13-14, Beloved brothers and sisters, we want you to be quite certain about the truth concerning those who have passed away, so that you won't be overwhelmed with grief like many others who have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, we also believe that God will bring with Jesus those who died while believing in him. So we know where most of them are at. Yeah, we've got military grave markers, but they're not there. They're not there. You've heard me say this before, and I truly believe this, especially in a war situation. When somebody is really injured to the point it's terminal, I believe that Jesus Christ, with God, in the loving and caring heart he gave to us on a cross, looked at that soldier and said, nope, I can't have you suffer anymore. I'm calling you home. I believe he did that on every battlefield ever. That's what happened with them. Psalm 46:1. God, you're such a safe and powerful place to find refuge. You are proven help in time of trouble, more than enough and always available whenever I need you. It's amazing that most soldiers worship on a Sunday morning, no matter where they're at. No matter where they're at. They're aware of what could happen to them. But they're also aware of the fact that they're fighting against extremists who don't understand who and what we are. They don't understand that we believe in Jesus Christ as the Son of God, because they don't. They don't believe that our system of democracy means anything. It does. Because of what was done before us, again, we have the right, we have the blessing to sit here and have no fear. I'm not worried about anybody coming through the door. I'm not worried that somebody's going to run here and knock that camera over and we're all going to be taken away. I have no fear. There is an Old Testament section from Ecclesiastes that I think I'm going to read all of it. Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1 through 8 that really is about our lives. Starting with verse 1. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time of love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. We are truly blessed by the individuals who have done what they've done. And we can't forget that. Doesn't matter how many years that have passed since World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East today. Each one of those people who were called home by God ensured that you and I can read the Bible and not worry about it have to be hidden. That you and I can leave here and get into our cars afterwards and not worried about being followed by somebody. And because of those 70 plus years ago, we are a free nation. We are not part of the Third Reich. So I'm going to ask you today, are you thankful to God that we have what we have? Or are you one of those that just goes along and takes it for granted? Are you one that believes that what we have, we deserve to have, which I do not believe that? Because when you do that, you are thinking that you're entitled, and we're not. Everything we have came at a cost. Every freedom we had came as a cost. Every Sunday morning when we come into church, someone died for you to sit in the pews. Sometime, somewhere. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons and daughters of God. Amen.